So I've been living in France for a little while now, and there are a lot of little things that you don't really realize unless you're living here. Some of it surprised me, some things took some getting used to, and none of this is good or bad, just things that I found interesting. So here are the 22 things I've noticed while living in France.
At least here in Southwest France, you need a coin to get a cart. It forces you to return the cart to get the coin back. And because of that, I don't think I've seen one misplaced cart since I've been here. So the US, you really need to take notes about that. You're expected to bag your own groceries, and there's no plastic bags. At first it was a little weird, but it's nice, making sure everything's packed properly, and there's way less waste. Walking is built into everyday life. Errands, schools, cafes, everything. No one's trying to hit a step goal here, it just happens naturally. Cars are smaller here, but it's not because people can't get bigger ones. It's because the cities are older. Narrow streets, tighter parking, it's just more practical. A lot of places don't have air conditioning, which surprised me at first. But between the thick walls, airflow, and shutters, most places are designed to handle the heat better than you'd think. People here aren't flashy, but they're almost always put together. It's almost understated, very effortless, and it's also why it's so fun to people watch here. This one's important. When I first arrived in France, I forgot to say bonjour in one of the local stores in town, a store I still go to all the time, and I always get a weird vibe whenever I go in there. So now I'm overly polite, bonjour, au revoir, the whole thing, bonjourne, and I think they're starting to come around on me, but the lesson is learned. Always say bonjour. It's not just about saying hello when you walk into a place. Leaving without saying au revoir feels just as noticeable. It's a small thing, but it really matters here. People don't smile at strangers as much. At first it's a little cold, but it's not rude. I'll admit though, whenever I lock eyes with someone, I'll smile or give a nod. It's a hard habit to break. But I remember when I first visited France about 8 years ago with my wife. I was in Paris, and I locked eyes with someone in a tunnel and like nodded or smiled, and she thought I was gonna start a fight with him. So, different cultures, I guess. If you say something wrong in French, people might correct you, but most of the time it's not meant to be rude. It's just direct and genuinely helpful. People are proud of where they're from, their religion, their traditions, their foods. Not in a loud way, just a very confident, rooted kind of pride. If you have young kids, be prepared. Feels like every month or so there's a 2-week break, and on top of that, they're off school. Wait. Go get your baby. And on top of that, they only go to school 4 days a week.
Most gyms here don't have a sauna, and coming from the US, that was a bit of a surprise because almost every gym has a sauna and some even have a hot tub or pool. And I can do without the hot tub or pool, but I do miss the sauna after a good workout.
So I take the bus pretty often, and during a certain time, there's always a whole gaggle of kids that hop on the bus. No chaos, no parents, just kids going about their day. And it really shows how much independence the kids are given over here early on. This probably goes without saying, but people take healthcare very seriously here. One time when one of my kids were sick late at night, we actually had a doctor come to our house. And I didn't even know house call doctors were still a thing, at least not like that in the US. This could just be my experience, but it feels like everyday things are cheaper here than the US. Healthcare, groceries, certain services. You have to keep in mind though, wages generally aren't as high, so it's really a different balance, not a direct comparison. There aren't that many fast food chains here in France, which is probably a good thing. But of the ones that are here, KFC is everywhere. And I'm still not quite sure why that's the one that made it. Like, what's the Colonel doing here? You know what I mean? I don't know.
So I'm fine with not a lot of fast food places around, but one thing I do miss is all the coffee shops. Because back in America or the US, there's literally a coffee chain on just about every corner of every block. And this morning I had my coffee and I was going to do some errands, and I was like, man, it would be nice if I could just swing by a coffee shop and get some coffee. And yes, there are coffee shops, but it's not really drive-through ones. You know, you got to get in there and you got to, you know, be a nice person for a little bit. But, you know, sometimes you just don't want to stop. You just want to get your coffee and get going. So, and I know all the French people say, well, you got to get your coffee and enjoy it. And yeah, I get it. You know, slow down. But what if you don't want to slow down? What if you just want to keep going? So, I mean, that's something I got to work on, I guess, to try to acclimate into the society a little bit better. But I do miss the coffee, being able to get a coffee on any corner of the street, anywhere.
Markets here aren't just about shopping. You see the same faces, same vendors, it becomes part of your routine. It feels social without being forced on you. There's people showing up. It's not as difficult as people think to get around France with limited French, especially in cities. A lot of places have English options, like grocery checkout stands, and I went to a place called Eclipso in Bordeaux, which is a virtual reality experience, and it was all in English. And when I talk to someone and I explain my French isn't that great, they usually switch to English, or they laugh and say never mind. And I also even hear American music on the radio all the time. And that's not to say that you shouldn't be practicing French, because you should try to immerse yourself if you're here. I'm just saying. At first when I moved here, everything feels like a comparison, US versus France. But after a while, all that fades. It just becomes the way that life is. And if you come here too, it's just the way it is. And that's perfectly fine.